Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's get started. So these are the measurements we're going to be needing to draft this skirt. My waist is 28 divided by 47, hips 36 divided by 49, length 20, and the hip point is 9. So guys, I'm going to be drafting this on this pattern paper. I have one piece for the front and the other piece for the back. So guys, let's go ahead to draft. First thing you're going to be doing right now is to mark out the vertical measurements, okay? So first thing, from my starting line, the edge of the pattern paper, my hip point is 9. I'm just going to mark out 9 inches right there. And then after marking out 9 inches, I'm going to take out the length. And the length is 20. And my length, I'm just going to mark it right there at 20 inches, okay? Right there at 20 inches. So I'm going to be using my ruler right now to rule this out, okay? So just rule it, rule it in a straight line. Next thing we want to do right now is to start marking our horizontal measurements, okay? So first of all, I'm going to be starting at the edge, from the edge, and I'm going to take my measurements in. So from that edge, you're going to come in by my waist measurement. 28 divided by 4 is 7. So I'm just going to mark it right there at 7 inches, okay? So just mark out 7 inches right there. Next thing, I'm going to be taking out the hip. 36 divided by 4 is 9. On the hip point line, just going to mark out 9 inches right there. And then I'm going to label the waist, the hip, and the down parts as the length, okay? Now let's go ahead and take the down measurements, okay? So at the down parts, I'm just going to be using my waist measurements plus 1 inch allowance, okay? My waist measurement plus 1 inch allowance, that's 8, and I'm going to mark it there. Now next thing I want to do is to connect these lines together. My waist to my hip, and from my hip down to the end of the skirt. So connect from the down part to the hip point, and then from the hip all the way to the waist, just as you see me doing in the video. So I'm just going to curve that area to make it in a curved form. You know your hip is not pointy, but it's curved. I do not have a curved ruler, that is why. So guys, next thing we're going to be doing is to take out the darts, okay? And I'm going to be marking out 3 inches. I want my darts when it's open to be 6 inches. So divide by 2 is 3. Just mark out 3 inches plus half an inch allowance and another half to catch the dart, okay? So guys, this is it. You mark 3 first and then 3.5 and then another half inch. So the height of my darts, that's how long my darts ought to be. I want mine to be 5 inches, okay? So I'm just going to mark out 5 inches right there, the length. So that's 5 inches right there. And next thing I'm going to do is rule this line, and I'm going to be labeling it as my darts line, okay? So I'm just rolling it out right now. I'm going to label it as my darts line. So guys, that's it. Now next thing you want to do is take out the same measurements at the top parts, just take it down at the lower parts at the dart line, okay? So you're just going to come down at the dart line, mark out 3.5 inch, okay? And then you're just going to connect the 3.5 inch using a straight line, okay? Next thing you want to do is to mark out your dart from that half inch all the way into the line, just as you see me doing, okay? So guys, that's it. This is your dart, okay? And then you're just going to be catching it just like this. When you're sewing, you're going to stitch on that line. So guys, next thing we're going to be doing right now is to add in the allowance, and then on the waist part, you know we're going to be taking 1 inch for the dart, so you're just going to mark 1 inch, and then I am adding 1.5 inch allowance, so I'm just going to mark 1.5 inch allowance. Okay, so by the time you take in your darts, you'll be left with 1.5 inch. On the hip, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch allowance, and on the lower part, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inch allowance too. So I'm going to connect these lines with my other marker so you can see it clearly from my waist to my hip and then to the down part. Okay, so just watch closely what I'm doing. From my waist to my hip, I'm going to connect that together, and then from my hip to the end of the skirt, I'm going to be connecting that together also. So I'm just going to blend the hip part so it's not pointy. You can see the waist is bigger than the hip. When you take out your darts, you're going to be left with 1.5 inch, just as you have on the hips and the down parts of the skirt. So guys, I'm going to label this allowance. I'm going to label it as my allowance. And then I'm going to label the lower parts as my allowance too. I'm just going to extend the lines before I cut. I'm going to extend the lines. So the black line is your skirt line, and then the green line is your allowance. Okay, so when you're cutting, you're going to be cutting on the green line, not on the black line. Okay, so do not make mistakes. And then you're going to be cutting on fold. I didn't fold my pattern paper, but please fold it on your fabric. Cut on fold. Please do not forget to cut on fold so that it's going to open into one piece. But without cutting on fold, you only have half piece. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut right now. So guys, there you have it. This is your front piece. Please do not forget to cut on fold, guys. When you're cutting it on your fabric, please cut on fold. So for the waist, I'm going to be coming down by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to be curving this into the waist. Okay, this is to give it a curve. Your waist is not straight, it's curvy. So just curve it right like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to label this as my front piece. Okay, so just label it right here as your front piece. Please don't forget to cut and fold. So guys, this is the front. We're going to go ahead right now and cut the back. So guys, the only difference is the addition of a zipper allowance. So let's go ahead and mark 2 inches for zipper. I'm going to roll this 2 inches line out. Just roll it a straight line, a vertical line. So guys, this is your zipper allowance. Now we're going to be taking measurements, and please do ensure to start all your measurements, okay? All your measurements. Ensure that you start from your zipper line, not on your starting line. Please start on your zipper line. That is the black line I marked for zipper. That's where your measurement will start. So let's take our measurements. My waist, as you can see, is 28 divided by 4. That gives me 7. Mark out 7 inches. And then from now we're going to mark out the hip point line and the length of the skirt. My hip point is 9. we're just going to mark that out. And my length, my skirt length is 20 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark that out. I'm going to be using my ruler right now to rule this out. So guys, these are the lines. I'm going to label it as waist, hip, and length. Okay, so next thing I want to do is to take out the horizontal measurements, my body measurements. And if you remember, my waist is 7, my hips is 36 divided by 4, which is 9, and the down parts, I'm just going to take what I have on my waist and add 1 inch allowance. That is 8 inches. Okay, mark at 8 inches. Next thing I'm going to do is to connect these lines together. Just take your ruler and connect from your hips to your end, the end of your skirt, and then to your waist. Next thing I'm going to do is to blend that out so it is not pointy. And then right now I'm going to go ahead and take out my darts, and just as we did in the front, my dart is 3 inches, so that when I open it I have 6 plus half an inch and another half an inch for joining. The length of my dart is 5 inches. Just going to mark that out and rule the line. Rule your dart line. I'm going to name this as my dart line. Next thing you want to do is to come in on your dart line by 3.5 inches, just as you have on the waist. Mark out 3.5 inches, and then you're going to connect these points together. Next thing you want to do is to mark out your darts. Use your ruler to do this. Your dart is just going to come in. It's not a straight line. So guys, there you have it. This is your dart. When you fold it in, you're going to have a very perfect dart. Next thing we're going to be doing right now is to be adding the allowance. Okay, so for the waist, you have come in by 1 inch for that, so that when you take your darts, you still have allowance left. And then your body allowance is 1.5. On the hip, you're going to be taking out 1.5 inches too for your allowance, and the lower part to 1.5 inches. So I'm going to be connecting the dart line together. I'm going to be connecting my allowance line together. You're just going to connect it right there. So I'm going to blend it out so it's not pointy. Next thing you want to do is to name it as your allowance, your zipper allowance, and then the lower parts, you also have an allowance there. So guys, to prevent bulge at the waist part, what you're going to be doing is to be coming down by 1 inch on the zipper. Just come down by 1 inch, and you're just going to connect this into your waist. Okay, connect this into the waist. So from that 1 inch you came down by, connect it into the waist, just like this. So this is going to help prevent bulge at the zipper part. So guys, I'm going to extend my lines at the bottom, just extend it before cutting, so you do not make a mistake by cutting out the allowance. So next thing we're going to do right now is to cut, okay? So go ahead and cut out all the green lines, only the green lines. I'm going to take out the part to remove the bulge too. So guys, here you have it, and this is your back piece, okay? Please do not forget to cut on fold. I did not fold my pattern paper, so please guys, cut on fold. This is your back piece, and don't forget to cut on fold. So guys, this is what our basic skirt pattern is looking like. You have one for the front and the other for the back. Please guys, don't forget to cut and fold on your fabric. Okay, this is what it's looking like. Thank you so much guys for watching. I really appreciate you stopping by. Please guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.